So, let's talk about the Magic of Don Bluth, my friends. So, we gotta go way back, because he is 80 now, so he's been around for a while. Got started way back in 55 with Disney. Did a little bit of work on Sleeping Beauty. Left in 57, did some mission work. Went back to college, got his English literature degree. Back in animation 64, and did some filmation layouts in 67 on arches and stuff like that. I imagine most of us, including myself, weren't alive at this time period. But you think about that, before we even got to what I would consider basically his stride, he was doing animation work. So he's back at Disney, 71 to 79. And he's working on Robin Hood. There's a few scenes from that one. I think it was Robin Hood and Little John doing that little theft and some rabbit children. And animated rabbit along with another animator on Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2. What's funny though is these films came out in 73 and 74. Don't forget, back before streaming and all that, it was a habit of Disney to bring out a film, put it away for 9 years, and bring it back out again. So while we probably have seen stuff like Robin Hood or The Jungle Book, we probably didn't see it first run. We probably saw it when it was brought back to the theater. So that's something to keep in mind here. So, you know, he does good work. He's been doing good work and all that. I think he shadowed one of the 7 old men, who are basically one of the veteran classic Disney animators of the time period. And this film came along, The Rescuers. He got promoted to animation director. So this is his first big shot to animate something. And I'll tell you what, this has Don Bluth all over it. From the animation style to a bit of the darker approach to it and all that. Bob Hope and Zsa Zsa Gabor, the voices. And I can't forget who does the seagull. I'm going to say Buddy Hackett, I probably am wrong. I remember seeing this film quite vividly. And it was terrifying. It was quite terrifying when I saw it. I know I was young when I saw it. I forget when it came out. Let me just do a quick check here. But I liked it. I really liked it, actually. Because up until this point, a lot of the Disney films were safe. You know, they weren't very kind of, I would say, scary or anything. But they were safe. They were safe. The Rescuers were a little scary. Like, Madame Medusa was terrifying. The crocodile was terrifying. Making Penny go into that log and get the jewels and stuff like that was terrifying. It was all terrifying. But it was scary in a way that it gave you a little bit of jolt, but didn't actually give you nightmares. And again, look at this animation. I'm going to go on about this forever. I love the style and the life he gives to these characters. And this came out in 77, actually. So I was 5 when I saw this. And I vividly remember seeing it. I don't know why it stuck with me, but it was just one of those stories that, I know, it was just different. Like I said, I remember seeing The Jungle Book and Robin Hood, all those coming back to the theaters. But this was different. This really kind of stuck in my head. And it is still a good film. I would recommend if you got young nieces or nephews or young children who like a little bit of a scare, The Rescuers is a great film. Rescuers 2, not so much. So after this, he got involved into another film, which is interesting, called Pete's Dragon, who I doubt many of us have even seen. If you don't know, it stars a kid who plays the role of Pete, has a dragon that everybody thinks is imaginary named Elliot, and of course it's got Mickey Rooney because he was in everything back then. What I find interesting about this film is that you got this combination of animation and live action. Again, Don Bluth is heading up the directing on this one, putting the stuff out. It's not a bad film. It's a kind of a cute film. It was remade actually in the 2000s, with more of a like CG animation I didn't really care for. This is not one of my favorite films. Like I said, I love The Rescuers, Pete's Dragon, I could take it or leave it. And near the end of his time at Disney, the last thing he did was a small one. It was like a short. Passamaquoddy. I love that. And it was a short. But by this time, Don Bluth's getting tired of the structure and the process and the rigor. What I love about Don Bluth is he is a creative He had a creative mind. He's always willing to take a chance and push the envelope. And what happens is that you don't usually fit in well with Disney doing that. Example, Tim Burton. Tim Burton's style and animation were nowhere near what Disney would expect. So he struck out on his own, and look what happened to Mr. Burton. You think he did okay. So that's what Bluth did. Say in 90, said, you know what? I'm going to go out my own, see what I can do here. So in 79, he established Don Bluth Productions. Made a short called Banjo the Woodpile Cat, which was pretty decent. But his big work was The Secret of NIMH. I don't know if anyone saw this. I saw this in the theater. Again, it was something radically different from Disney did at the time. The animation style was amazing. The story was a bit dark, actually, again, but it was a safe dark, if you know what I meant. Voice acting was great. All about this stuff I thought was actually exceptional. So, Bluth actually did a few things here. So there's 160 animators that actually went to work on this film, and he promised them profit sharing. Back then, animators were disposable. Use them, lose them, whatever kind of thing. Bluth wanted them to have basically a share in the work, which I appreciate. Was basically a critical success at the box office. Roger Ebert gave it 3.5 out of 4. Everybody liked it. Didn't do too bad at the box office. Made a good deal of coin, actually. However, the month before, a little film called E.T. came out. And it kind of basically stole Secret of NIMH's thunder. So, low box office return because it wasn't, it made about 24 million, which wasn't bad. But there's an animation strike going on that basically had to force him to declare bankruptcy. I don't know if anybody's seen The Secret of NIMH. I watched it again recently to see how it holds up. And I think it actually is pretty strong. It actually makes me miss those days of hand-drawn cell animation. I miss that. And like I said, there's a lot of great shots in it. So, with the studio in bankruptcy, what does he do? Change the company to become the Bluth Group. I can't say that 5 times fast. And he got into providing animation for the Cinematronics Laserdisc games. Dragon's Lair, Space Ace. This is about 83, 84 now. Very popular. Very successful, actually. The Lee of the Stone. Exactly on that one. 100% there, Duncan. The Lee of the Stone. I remember Dragon's Lair hit the arcades. 50 cents to play, which was outrageous because most of them were a quarter. And the attract mode was great. It is basically what we call a game on rails. You're just basically making moves to advance the story and all that. It didn't matter. It was a blast to play. Oh, and Duncan pointed out too on The Secret of NIMH, the owl crushing the spider was scary. There's a lot of terrifying things about that. The stone falling and crushing people, or mice to say, and mice falling down the air duct at Dim. It was very scary, and actually still is scary. I don't know if anybody had a chance to play Dragon's Lair or Space Ace. I was going to play Dragon's Lair in Chuck E. Cheese's. Because Chuck E. Cheese made a deal with Cinematronics to kind of premiere Dragon's Lair in their restaurants. And it worked out very well. Again, Mr. Bluth was on the roll here. Working on Dragon's Lair 2 when the video game Crash 85 happened. And basically what happened was there was a glut of arcade games, home games, ever, you name it. And the whole industry just crashed. So that time, Bluth had to file again for bankruptcy. Like I said, just couldn't catch a break. And again, here's some stills. You see Bluth's handiwork in both of them. I play a lot of Dragon's Lair. I'm actually fairly decent at it. Space Ace, we'll get to that a little bit later, hopefully. I'm not very good at Space Ace. And these properties, like I said, it was doing well. They both had Saturday morning cartoons in some form. There was like board games, lunch boxes, all sorts of merch based off this stuff. So this is about the end of 85. So Spielberg comes along. This must mean instant money, right? An American Tail, which I did not see until, well, sometime later in life, I'll tell you that much. So Don Bluth Productions becomes Sullivan and Bluth Studios. So he's in kind of a new partnership. Spielberg teams up with him. Bluth's directing this film. And Spielberg said to Bluth, make me something pretty, like you did in NIMH. Make it beautiful. And out came American Tail. At the time of its release, in '86, it was the highest non-Disney animated film of all time, $84 million. Incredible. Again, very much has Don Bluth style, great story, and Fievel was everywhere. Like I said, it spun off a Saturday morning cartoon show. It was on merch. Universal Studios for a long time had Fievel as their mascot. It was, I cannot stress to you how big Fievel was between '86 and '89. He was everywhere. Unfortunately, it was a bit of a difficult production because Spielberg didn't understand animation. They expected to have like daily shots of what was going on. You can't really do that with animation. Whenever they would make a change, it wasn't like, oh, just reshoot the scene. It meant basically a lot of reanimation, rejigging, all that. And Bluth, like I said, there was a bit of slow production, and Bluth felt he was losing a bit of freedom of control. But you know what? It is what it is. I think a lot of people remember this film. Like '86, still a little young for my kids yet, but I remember it quite well. Like merch and all that, and of course the song, right? Somewhere out there. Da, da, da. I'm not singing it. This was huge. But like I said, critical success, box office success, but pretty special for Bluth. And again, here are some stills. You can see Bluth's handiwork. Absolutely fun film to watch. I haven't watched this in a long time, though. I don't mind going back and checking it out, actually. But I thought it was pretty good. Not one of my top Bluth films. Like I said, I haven't checked it out, but it is. So how do you follow up American Tail? Land Before Time. So Bluth and Spielberg had an idea for a film like Bambi, but with dinosaurs. Bluth's back as director. George Lucas comes along, as well as the writers of American Tail. This sounds like a recipe for success. I'll tell you at the start. Unfortunately, as it went along, Spielberg and Lucas kept asking for cuts. The Land Before Uncle Gutty, exactly. And I mean like cuts. So scenes were cut to make it less scary, less dark. Spielberg was obsessed with making sure that children wouldn't be terrified by this film. And I guess the ultimate straw was they had to cut 10 minutes of the film before, weeks before it was released. Also changed the ending as well. Released in '88, grossed $84.5 million. Launched 13 direct-to-video sequels that neither Bluth nor Lucas or Spielberg were involved with. Needless to say, after all this oversight and control, Bluth had enough and decided, he was done with Spielberg and Lucas. I can respect that.
Move this man!
Thank you, my dear. Much appreciate it. It takes a lot of guts to keep your integrity and creative freedom to walk away from, money for all intents and purposes. Everybody, Spook Little Leo, my eldest genetic offspring. Thanks, babe. So what does Bluth do? Teams up with Sullivan Bluth Studios, and it should be Goldcrest Films, to make All Dogs Go to Heaven. Bluth is co-director. Created as part of a $70 million deal, 3-film deal with Goldcrest Films. Bluth had a story kicking around when he was making Secret of NIMH. And all-star cast. You got Burt Reynolds, Dom DeLuise. It was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, again, I want to say it's bad luck, but maybe it's just fate, whatever. Released the same day as The Little Mermaid, back in '89. I don't know how you cannot be shadowed by The Little Mermaid. This is a cute film. I love this film. I guess one of you know, I like it better than Land Before Time. Still did an impressive $27 million against Little Mermaid. But its big claim to fame, it was a huge hit VHS. It sold 3 million copies in the first month. Imagine that. A VHS tape, and it was like bonkers. It was gangbusters. Unfortunately, Bluth's next 4 films, they're all critical and box office failures. Rock-a-Doodle-Doo, Thumbelina, A Troll in Central Park, The Pebble and the Penguin. Just, you know, wasn't there. And I tried to like Rock-a-Doodle-Doo, but I couldn't do it. No problem, my dear. Enjoy doing your hair. Like I said, it wasn't for lack of trying either. So that's 4 basic losses. So what do you do after that, right? Well, opportunity knocks again. I know you did. You love Thumbelina. And I don't think it was as bad as the critics say. I think it was kind of cute. It's still that spirit of Don Bluth, especially the Rock-a-Doodle as well. But no one just turned out for it. Anyways, Fox Animation comes knocking. Or should I say, basically, Don Bluth and Gary Goldman signed a long-term deal with Fox in '94. They built a new studio, Fox for them, in Arizona, $100 million. Staffed at 300 artists, including some that worked previously with Bluth and Goldman. The studio's goal was to adapt some of their old movies to animated form, like The King and I, stuff that we've never seen, basically. So after some discussion, they decided basically to land on something called Anastasia, 56. That's a new excuse these days. Used to be, I'm washing my hair at night and I'm dyeing my hair at night. That's no kidding. If you had asked me of all the films of Don Bluth, which one's my favorite, it'd be Anastasia. I thought this would be a new renaissance of animation for Bluth. The plot is good. The voice acting is good. The music, it's got everything I want in an animated film. And I loved it. You've got Meg Ryan as Anastasia. John Cusack as the guy that finds her. Christopher Lloyd as the villain, of course, Rasputin. You even got Kelsey Grammer in here. And like I said, it's just fantastic. Score is composed by David Newman, whose father composed the original film's music. Now, here we go again. The Little Mermaid is scheduled for re-release a week before. So there's a little bit of like, hey, what's going on here? Disney says, hey, we had this planned for a long time. Don't worry about it. Disney also pumped out 3 other films around the same time. Flubber, Hercules, George the Jungle. Also, Disney owned ABC at the time. No advertising of the film allowed on ABC. You can't tell me that Disney was doing everything in its power to try and crush this film. The good news is it didn't work. This is highly critically acclaimed. Made $140 million at the box office. Nominated for Best Original Musical, Best Original Song. And like I said, I don't know how many times I watched this with my kids when they were younger. Again, my favorite film of Bluth. Everything about it is great. So what do you do? Comes back with Bartok, the magnificent direct-to-video sequel. It's the only sequel that Bluth's work he was involved with, surprisingly. Hank Azaria is back as Bartok. Tim Curry is in here along with Catherine O'Hara. Actually, it was pretty decent for being direct-to-video. So like I said, sky's the limit, right? Hold that thought. Because comes next is a little film called Titan AE. This is a disappointment, unfortunately. I looked forward to seeing this film when I first saw the previews. I love a good sci-fi film. I love a good sci-fi animated film. And this one, I thought, it's going to be great. No. Initially envisioned as a live-action film by Fox. They thought, basically, why not turn to animated film? Production began in '97 to avoid laying off animators because studios are undergoing a budget crunch. The animation field is not healthy. So let's just get it going, they said, to keep these guys working. We didn't finish the script, believe it or not. Joss Whedon, whatever his face is. But unfortunately, there's some early signs of trouble. Initially budget $55 million. $30 million is blown on pre-production. Fox Studios is really cutting costs in '99. So a lot of the work is outsourced. the studio is not supporting this film or the animation arm. Yeah, it lost 100 million brass. It was like, so it's much darker than prior Bluth and Goldman films. I don't care though, because I still love this film. But it was released in 2000. It was a box office failure. It lost $100 million. And it was just a combination of no support from the studio, bad release timing. The story could have been better, unfortunately. But yeah, it lost $100 million, which is a shame. I went back and watched it again recently, like I said, doing some research. I like it. I think it was basically ahead of its time. And there are some sequences in this film that are absolutely amazing. Yeah. As Pim says, not a good film at all. Yeah, you were 7 though at the time. But it was a good-looking film, Pim. Like I said, though, I had great hopes for it. But yeah, the story, I think, really held it back. But man, what could have been? So, needless to say, Fox was shutting down stuff. It shut down its animation studio. It was gone. And so, Bluth, basically, what's he doing now? Well, 2015 had a Kickstarter campaign for a hand-drawn Dragon Slayer movie. Try to get that going. 2020, possible live-action Dragon Slayer film with Ryan Reynolds attached to star. It's in production, the production swamp right now. Launched Don Bluth University, does a few conventions. If you want to know more about Don Bluth, go check out his autobiography somewhere out there. He's 80 now, so I think the man deserves a chance to rest. But like I said, he is one of my animation heroes. I love to meet him. Love to maybe get someone to draw something for me. I love Dragon Slayer. I love Anastasia. I love Secret of NIMH. I liked it all because the way it was drawn, because it wasn't Disney. I was trying to do something different. I can really appreciate that.